Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're doing something a little different. Instead of, like a bunch of research papers or articles, we're going to dive into just like a single story about this guy, Carlos.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And so Carlos, he was going through kind of a rough patch, um, middle-aged, fresh out of a divorce, money problems, the
Yeah.
midlife crisis kind of thing.
Right.
But then this new neighbor moves in next door, this kind of mysterious guy, Gabriel.
hmm
And things start to change for Carlos in a big way.
Yeah, it's interesting because the source material really frames this as almost like a classic mentorship story, but like with this very modern twist.
Mm.
You've got this ordinary guy stuck in this rut, and then suddenly there's this, enigmatic character who enters his life.
Yeah.
It really makes you wonder if like everyone has these Gabriel moments,
Right.
these unexpected encounters that shift our perspective.
Totally. And the setting really adds to this whole mysterious feeling.
Yeah.
So picture this. Okay. Carlos lives on this quiet street. It's kind of secluded. And there's this old house next door that's been abandoned for years.
Creepy.
Yeah. And then one day a moving truck pulls up and this guy, Gabriel, just like appears.
Gabriel's described as having this aura of like calm and wisdom, right? He's
Yeah.
not like flashy or preachy, but there's something about him that draws people in.
Like a walking meditation app.
Exactly, radiating peace and insight.
I'm picturing him like in a linen outfit offering Carlos a cup of herbal tea.
Right.
But seriously, like their relationship takes a turn when they start having these like deep conversations out on the porch.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this one quote from Gabriel that really stuck with me.
Oh, yeah.
He tells Carlos, sometimes the answer we're looking for isn't in what we do, but in why we do it.
Whoa. That's pretty profound, especially for someone like Carlos who's, feeling so lost. It's like Gabriel's gently nudging him to like, look inward to figure out his motivations and not just like going through the motions. Have you ever had someone offer you that kind of like perspective shielding advice?
Oh, yeah, totally. It's like, when you're so focused on a problem that you can't even see the solution.
Right.
And then someone comes along and like helps you reframe the whole situation. And that's what Gabriel seems to be doing for Carlos. They develop this bond, they're sharing coffee, talking about life, just like enjoying each other's company.
It's like they're speaking the same language even though their lives are so different.
Yeah.
There's this unspoken understanding between them, this shared sense of searching for something more.
Right.
And it's really interesting how the source material like builds up their connection without explicitly stating what that connection is.
It's making me think of those like mentors you read about in books or see in movies, the ones that appear at just the right moment and offer guidance when the hero needs it most.
Yeah.
But as, listener, things are rarely that simple.
Mm-hmm. Here comes the twist.
You got it. So one day, Gabriel just vanishes.
Oh, no.
No goodbye, no forwarding address, like he was never there.
Wow.
Yeah. So Carlos is obviously freaked out. He goes to the real estate office to like find out more about Gabriel.
But there's no record of him.
Nope. The agent acts like Carlos is making it all up. Says the house has been empty for years. No recent tenants. No Gabriel.
So now we're getting into the real mystery here. Was
Yeah.
Gabriel like a real person, a ghost, some kind of guardian angel? Or was he like, some theories suggest a figment of Carlos's imagination?
Right.
Like a manifestation of his desire for guidance. I bet you're wondering the same thing, listener.
Exactly. But here's the thing that really creeps me out.
Mm.
Carlos goes back to the house and it's completely abandoned.
Right.
Like covered in dust cobwebs everywhere. Like
Yeah.
it's been untouched for decades. Except for one thing.
The garden.
The garden. The garden that Gabriel had been like meticulously tending is still perfectly maintained. Freshly weeded flowers blooming, like someone's been taking care of it.
Okay, how do you explain that? So, listener, let's like pause for a second, really think about this.
Yeah.
We've got this mysterious neighbor who like shows up out of nowhere, offers all this life-changing advice, and then poof, vanishes without a trace.
Right.
But he leaves behind this perfectly kept garden.
It's wild.
Sounds like an episode of The Twilight Zone.
Totally. But the story doesn't end there.
Okay.
In fact, you could say this is where things get really interesting. Because even though Carlos is like confused and kind of spooked, he's also like, he's changed. It's like Gabriel's presence, however fleeting it was, sparked something inside him.
Yeah, the source material describes it as a kind of awakening.
Right.
Like Carlos starts taking risks he never would have even considered before. Remember, he was stuck in that rut feeling totally defeated.
Yeah.
But now he's suddenly filled with this sense of purpose, this drive to actually go after his dreams.
And it's not just about ambition either, right?
Yeah.
he also starts reconnecting with people,
Oh, that's a good point.
reaching out to old friends, mending relationships with family.
Mm-hmm.
That's like he's finally realizing that connection is what really matters,
Right?
even if those connections have been strained or neglected.
And it makes you wonder if maybe Gabriel's real gift wasn't like the advice itself, but the way he helped Carlos see the value of those connections.
That's a good point.
Think about it, listener. How often do we get so caught up in our own heads that we forget to like nurture the relationships that actually matter?
Oh, all the time.
Yeah.
It's so easy to just get lost in the daily grind and forget about the people that make life worth living.
Right.
And that's why this part of the story like really resonated with me. It's like a reminder that even when things feel hopeless, there's always the possibility of renewal,
Yeah.
of like reconnecting with what truly matters.
And Carlos embodies that idea. He
Mhm.
actually starts pursuing his lifelong dream of opening a bakery.
I love that.
Something he'd always talked about but never had the guts to actually do.
Yeah.
It's like Gabriel's belief in him gave Carlos the confidence to believe in himself.
It's a reminder that sometimes all it takes is like one person to believe in us,
Right.
to like unlock our own potential.
Exactly.
And it makes you think about the people in your life who have supported your dreams,
Yeah.
who are your Gabriel's listener,
Mm-hmm.
who has seen something in you that maybe you didn't even see in yourself.
That's a great question.
Yeah, and the source material emphasizes that even years later, whenever Carlos faces a tough decision, he thinks back to Gabriel's words, especially that quote about finding the why behind our actions.
Yeah.
It's like Gabriel's influence became this guiding principle in his life,
Right.
this reminder to always stay true to himself.
You know, it's funny. The more we talk about this, the less important the mystery of Gabriel's existence seems.
Right.
It almost doesn't matter if he was real or imagined.
Yeah.
What matters is the impact he had on Carlos.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's like the source material is inviting us to focus on the transformation, not the explanation.
Exactly.
Maybe the real magic is in the way these like seemingly impossible encounters can change our lives for the better, regardless of how they like defy logic or reason.
Right.
It makes you wonder if maybe we're too quick to just dismiss things that we can't explain. What if we approached life with a little more openness to the unknown,
Yeah.
to the possibility of things existing beyond our current understanding? Do you think we might be surprised by what we discover, listener?
I think so. It brings us to a really interesting question. If we accept that these like transformative encounters can happen, how do we make ourselves more receptive to them?
Right.
How do we cultivate that openness to the unexpected, that willingness to like see the magic in the mundane?
Ooh, now, that's a question worth pondering.
Yeah.
And luckily for you, listener, we're going to dive into that very question in the final part of our deep dive. We'll explore some practical ways to cultivate that sense of wonder and openness, and maybe even attract a little Gabriel magic into our own lives.
Ooh.
Don't go anywhere. Okay, so we're back and ready to tackle the big question. How do we invite more Gabriel moments into our own lives? Is it just like pure luck, or can we actually like cultivate that openness to the unexpected?
Yeah, that's what we're going to try to unpack now. You know, it's easy to get caught up in like the mystery of Gabriel's existence, but the real treasure in the story is the transformation that he sparked in Carlos. And the source material doesn't give us like a step-by-step guide to finding our own Gabriels, but it does offer some clues.
Okay, so like what are we even looking for here? Is this about joining some secret society or learning to speak with spirits?
Not quite. Remember, the key takeaway here is about like cultivating openness, not conjuring up mystical beings. Think about it. Carlos was stuck in a rut, right? He was closed off to new possibilities. But Gabriel's arrival, regardless of its nature, like it forced him to step outside of his comfort zone, to question his assumptions.
So maybe the first step is to just like acknowledge that we might not have all the answers.
Right.
To be willing to say, hey, I don't know everything, and that's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Because sometimes it's in those moments of uncertainty that we're most open to new experiences and new perspectives.
Totally. It's about embracing curiosity, asking questions, being willing to like challenge our own beliefs. Think about how often we just shut down conversations or experiences because they don't fit into our existing worldview.
Right.
What if instead we approached those moments with a sense of wonder? Like, that's interesting. Tell me more.
I love that. It's like shifting from a mindset of judgment to a mindset of exploration. And it makes me think of something you mentioned earlier, the importance of connection. Maybe part of finding our own Gabriels is about being more present in our interactions with others,
Right.
like truly listening and seeking to understand their perspectives.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing that everyone we encounter has something to teach us,
Yeah,
even if it's not immediately obvious. Think about those times when you've had a conversation with someone who seemed completely different from you,
right.
and yet you walked away feeling uh, inspired or challenged in a positive way.
Yeah.
Those are the moments when we're like expanding our understanding of the world and ourselves.
And maybe, just maybe, those are the moments when we're most likely to encounter our own Gabriels. Those individuals who, whether for a brief time or a lifetime, offer us guidance, support, and a fresh perspective on life.
And it doesn't have to be some grand mystical figure, you know.
Right.
It could be a friend, a family member, a mentor, a teacher, even a stranger you strike up a conversation with at a coffee shop.
Yeah.
The key is to approach those interactions with an open heart and a curious mind.
So listener, as we wrap up this deep dive into Carlos's story, we encourage you to embrace the power of the unknown. Cultivate your curiosity, nurture your connections, and be open to the possibility that guidance and inspiration can come from the most unexpected sources.
And remember, the most profound transformations often begin with a single question, a moment of doubt, a willingness to step outside our comfort zones. Who knows, you might be surprised by who or what you find waiting just beyond the familiar.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you've enjoyed exploring the mystery and magic of Carlos's journey, and that you'll carry a little of that wonder with you as you navigate your own path. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep an open heart.